He was just a janitor to everyone else, invisible in his khaki uniform and with hands roughened by years of hard work. Each day, he moved quietly through the Grand Hotel, sweeping floors and emptying trash bins, blending into the background like a shadow. To the guests and staff, he was simply part of the scenery, someone whose presence was necessary but never truly noticed. Yet, beneath the surface, he carried a world of memories and music that no one could see. But to the grand piano tucked away in the corner of the hotel lobby, he was something more. A ghost of a life once lived, a whisper of forgotten dreams. Every night, after the guests had left and the chandeliers dimmed, he would approach the piano with reverence. He would gently wipe the dust from the black and ivory keys, his fingers pausing as if they remembered a time when they belonged there, when music flowed from his soul like a river. No one ever asked his name. No one ever noticed the way his gaze lingered a little longer on the Steinway, or how his footsteps slowed as he passed by. To them, he was just the janitor, a man with a mop and a bucket, someone whose story didn't matter. But the piano knew better. It remembered the touch of someone who once played not for applause, but for the sheer love of music. No one until she did. Her name was Veronica Langford, a sharp, stunning CEO of a luxury hotel chain, known as much for her elegance as for her biting tongue. She walked through the hotel with an air of authority, her heels clicking on the marble floors, her eyes missing nothing. Veronica was a woman who had built her empire from the ground up, and she expected nothing less than perfection from everyone around her. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unseen talent, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to True Movement Stories. Your support helps us share more emotional, uplifting stories that matter. One late evening, during an unannounced inspection visit to the hotel, Veronica caught the janitor softly humming near the piano. She paused, her curiosity piqued by the gentle melody floating through the air. Raising an eyebrow, she watched as he wiped the keys with a tenderness that seemed out of place for someone in his position. For a moment, she saw something different in him. A quiet dignity, a hidden depth. "Do you even know what that is?" she asked, gesturing to the piano, her voice laced with mockery. The janitor, David, nodded gently without looking up. "Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major," he replied, his voice calm and steady, though his heart thudded with years of shame and silence. Veronica laughed, a hollow, cruel sound that echoed through the empty lobby. "If you can actually play Chopin," she smirked, "I'll marry you." Her words were meant to humiliate, a challenge not meant to be taken seriously. But David's eyes didn't waver. He simply nodded, accepting the challenge with a quiet confidence that surprised her. She turned and walked away before he could respond, not realizing that her arrogant joke had just unlocked a door that had remained sealed for decades. David's past was a symphony of broken dreams. He had once been a prodigy, a rising star, trained at a prestigious European conservatory. Music had been his life, his passion, his purpose. But life, as it often does, had other plans. A tragic car crash had stolen his mother, his scholarship, and the only piano he'd ever owned. In the aftermath, he found himself alone, adrift, and without hope. Homelessness followed. He wandered the streets, sleeping in shelters and parks, surviving on the kindness of strangers and the strength of his own will. He cleaned toilets to survive, not because he lacked talent, but because the world had no patience for grief or broken wings. His only solace was the stolen minutes he spent brushing his fingers along the keys of pianos in empty churches and train stations, pretending he still belonged in the world of melody and meaning. That night, something shifted inside him. David couldn't sleep. Veronica's words rang in his ears like a cruel dare, but beneath the sarcasm was an opportunity, a crack of light in a wall of darkness. For the first time in years, he felt a spark of hope, a reason to try again. He decided he would not let this chance slip away, no matter how small it seemed. For days, he practiced in secret, coming in early and staying late, making sure no one saw. His fingers stumbled at first, stiff from years of disuse, but slowly the music returned. It was not just notes. It was memory. It was hope. It was everything he had buried beneath the janitor's uniform. Each night, the piano became his confessional, a place where he could pour out his pain and longing without fear of judgment. He remembered the lessons his mother had taught him, the way she would sit beside him on the piano bench, her hands guiding his, her voice gentle and encouraging. He remembered the thrill of performing on stage, the applause, the sense of belonging. But most of all, he remembered the feeling of being truly alive, of losing himself in the music and finding himself again. David saw his chance. He removed his gloves, his apron, and slowly walked to the bench. The room fell into a hush as he sat down. Most guests thought he was just moving the piano, maybe cleaning it. But when he placed his fingers on the keys and began to play, something incredible happened. The haunting, elegant notes of Chopin filled the lobby like a forgotten prayer. Conversations stopped. Glasses froze midair. Veronica turned sharply, confusion washing over her face as she saw the janitor, her janitor, commanding the room with nothing but his hands and heart. The music poured out of him, not just as sound, but as truth. Pain, love, loss, and healing were all stitched into each measure. The lobby melted into a quiet cathedral of emotion. Some guests wept without knowing why. Others closed their eyes, letting the music wash over them, feeling emotions they hadn't felt in years. Veronica stood motionless, her face pale, her lips parted in awe. For the first time in a long time, she was speechless. She watched as David's hands danced across the keys, his face serene, his eyes closed in concentration. Some guests wept without knowing why. Others closed their eyes, letting the music wash over them, feeling emotions they hadn't felt in years. Veronica stood motionless, her face pale, her lips parted in awe. For the first time in a long time, she was speechless. She watched as David's hands danced across the keys, his face serene, his eyes closed in concentration. When he finished, the silence lingered as if no one dared disturb the sacred air he had created. Then came the applause, hesitant at first, then roaring, overwhelming. People stood to their feet, clapping and cheering, their faces shining with admiration and gratitude. But David didn't smile. He stood, bowed slightly, and walked away without looking at her. He had already said everything he needed to say with his music. Veronica approached him later, her usual poise shaken. "Why didn't you ever tell anyone?" she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. David simply replied, "No one ever asked." Her eyes welled up with something that looked a lot like regret, but he wasn't looking for an apology. She had offered marriage as a joke. He had answered with dignity, not desperation. From that day on, David no longer wore a janitor's uniform. Veronica offered him a permanent role as the hotel's resident pianist, a position that allowed him to share his gift with the world once more. But more than that, she changed, softer, kinder, humbled by the realization that greatness can be found in the most unexpected places. Sometimes she would sit by the piano as he played, listening not just with her ears, but with her heart. She began to see the people around her differently, to notice the stories hidden behind every uniform and name tag. The hotel itself seemed to change, becoming a place where kindness and talent were celebrated, where everyone was given a chance to shine. David's music became the soul of the hotel, drawing guests from all over the world. People came not just for the luxury and elegance, but for the chance to hear the man who had once been invisible, now filling the lobby with beauty and hope. His story inspired others to look beyond appearances, to see the potential in everyone they met. Veronica and David developed a quiet friendship, built on mutual respect and understanding. She often confided in him, sharing her own struggles and fears, her regrets and dreams. In return, he shared his music, his wisdom, and his unwavering belief in the power of second chances. Together, they created a new legacy for the hotel, one built on compassion, resilience, and the belief that everyone deserves to be seen. As the years passed, David's reputation grew. He was invited to perform at concerts and charity events, his story spreading far beyond the walls of the hotel. Yet, he never forgot where he came from or the people who had helped him along the way. He used his newfound success to support music programs for underprivileged children, hoping to give others the opportunities he had lost. Veronica, too, changed. She became known not just for her business acumen, but for her generosity and kindness. She established scholarships in David's name, ensuring that no talented young musician would ever have to give up their dreams because of hardship. The hotel flourished, becoming a beacon of hope and inspiration for all who entered its doors. But for David, the greatest reward was not the applause or the recognition. It was the simple joy of playing the piano each night, of losing himself in the music and finding himself again. It was the knowledge that, no matter how invisible he had once felt, he had always mattered. His story was a testament to the power of resilience, the importance of kindness, and the belief that it's never too late to start again. If this story touched your heart, please give it a like, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to True Movement Stories for more inspiring stories. Every view, comment, and share helps us spread kindness where it's needed most. Before you go, please leave a comment. What would you have done if you were in David's shoes? We'd love to hear your thoughts and stories. Your voice matters, and together, we can create a world where everyone is seen, heard, and valued. Thank you for being part of our community at True Movement Stories. Remember, every act of kindness, no matter how small, can change a life. And sometimes, the most beautiful music comes from the most unexpected places.